Hi guys, James at RampantLionReviews again for you today with another beer review. For this one we are going to head over to Germany once again. We're going to a little town called Sion in the very southeast part of Bavaria actually, and it's home to one of the breweries that really kind of kick-started I guess you would say the whole craft beer revolution that's going on over there in Germany just now. So for this one we're going to do my first review from Brauerei Handwerk Camba Bavaria, to give them their full name, or Camba Bayern if you want to say it in German, and this one is their Black Shark. So this is an Imperial Black IPA at 8.5%. On Rate Beer it had a rating I think of 95 overall and 97 within the Black IPA style, so it should be a really pretty good beer. As I always say, take Rate Beer with a bit of a pinch of salt because there are various things to consider there, but it does give you a fairly good barometer of how good your beer is going to be. But my friend Peter over at the Clueless Drinker, he's reviewed numerous Camba Bavaria beers for you before, and if you are particularly interested in this whole kind of new wave of craft beers that are appearing in Germany, his channel is one that you definitely want to check out. So I'll put the link to it in the description below, and do make sure you watch some of the videos. He'll be able to keep you a lot more up to date with what's going on over there than I can, but I'm really just glad to be able to do at least one review from this brewery because I have heard very good things from him. So yeah, so as always with my reviews then, I'll tell you a little bit about the brewery. If you want to get straight to the tasting, just fast forward. All the usual links are in the description below. That's the brewery website, the link to my future reviews that hopefully I can do from Camba Bavaria. Very first time I'm trying one of their beers, of course. There's all the usual social media. If you want to see more beer reviews, do please consider subscribing to the channel. The whole channel, of course, has a geography-based tagging system, so you can go into the home page and search for beer based on country, city or state, whatever it is you're interested in. Do check out the playlist of beers from different countries. There is one there, of course, for all the German beers that I've reviewed for you. That's constantly being added to, and please do get in touch and let me know some of the other beers and breweries that you guys would like to see me review. It's always great to hear from you guys that are watching the videos, and the support that you give the channel is hugely appreciated. So anyway, to tell you a little bit about Camba Bavaria then. So Camba Bavaria were founded by Markus Lohner back in 2008, and he owned a company called Braukon Brauverlagen, and this is a company that basically designs craft breweries and also constructs the equipment for them as well. So a really quite interesting company, and I think Markus has run that company since around 2003. But of course he has a long career in engineering, and he's a self-taught brewer as well, and basically he founded Camba Bavaria as a small brewery and guest house in Truchtlaching, in Sion-Seebruck and Traunstein, which is in the very kind of southeastern part of Bavaria, or Bayern if you say it in German. So the brewery became really popular very quickly, and a lot quicker than Markus actually thought it would. So he appointed Götz Steinl as the boss of the brewery, and also beer sommeliers Daniela Hartl and Hubert Unterweger. They took over the management of the Gaststätte. A Gaststätte, of course, is basically just like a restaurant and kind of guest house, but they introduced things like brewing workshops and tasting events, and this really has made Camba Bavaria kind of one of the staple breweries when it comes to this whole kind of German or Bayerische craft beer revolution that's going on. But the original brewery and Gaststätte is located near Chiemsee, which is supposed to be a really kind of picturesque part of Bavaria actually, a really nice lake. If you go onto the brewery website you'll see a lot of the different photos and things of this, and it just looks really beautiful. It's a beautiful part of the world. Bavaria, Austria, Switzerland, that kind of Central European area really is very pretty, and somewhere that I do recommend you try. And for a period of time Camba Bavaria were also the owners of the Tap House bar, which is really close to the Ostbahnhof in Munich actually, and that's a place I do also recommend you check out if you find yourself there. But in 2017 they're opening up a new brewery which has a 40 hectolitre capacity. It's a few kilometres away from the original place, but they actually do export a lot of their beers to different places as well. I'd actually seen some of the Camba Bavaria beers in Japan when I was there last year, and I think they export quite a lot to China and Korea as well, but in Europe I think they can be a little bit difficult to come across. I think some of them are starting to make their way into England just now. I've not seen them in Scotland, and I haven't seen them in Sweden, although Sweden would be a bit difficult. Maybe in Denmark I would have a little bit more luck finding some of their beers. But as I said, these guys are considered to be one of the kind of pioneers of the craft beer movement in Germany and in Bavaria, I guess you would say as well. But they had a little bit of problems starting up this new brewery, and they also were in trouble with some of the authorities a little bit as well, because they were kind of going against the Reinheitsgebot. And I think there is a rule, I think, in Bavaria and in Germany generally, that you're not allowed to sell something as beer unless it kind of sticks to the Reinheitsgebot. I thought you just weren't allowed to say that it actually was brewed in accordance with the Reinheitsgebot if it wasn't. I thought you could still sell it as beer. year, but they've been doing some interesting things, and as I've said to you, their beers are rated very highly, and Peter seems to rate them very highly as well. But they've got a whole host of different things. They have a traditional series of beers, which are things like Dunkel, Helles, Weizens, Doppelbock, I think, as well, and they also have their international series of beers, which are things like this, the Black IPA, the American IPA, New England IPA, all of these kind of things, and they do have an oak-aged series as well. So if you want to try and see how sort of how German brewing tradition kind of goes together with these new American beer styles, then Camba Bavaria is a brewery that you definitely want to check out. But that's enough about the brewery just now. Let's actually get on to the tasting of this beer itself. So as I said, all of the links that I was mentioning to you before are in the description below, so you can go and read about these guys a little bit more if you are interested. So I'll just let you have a little look at the artwork on this one then. You can see these guys are quite kind of, this is quite distinctive artwork. It's almost like one of these things that you put on the taps when you're actually pouring beer. You can see there's the Camba Bavaria bottle cap on this one, and there's a nice sort of little top label on this as well. But as I mentioned to you, this one is an Imperial Black IPA, the Black Shark. It comes in at 8.5%. The hops in this one are Hercules, which is a nice German hop, a good kind of distinctive spicy floral aromaticity from that. And you also have Chinook and Centennial from over in America as well. So some really nice kind of, that should give you some nice piney raisins and some nice lemony citrus and some spicy floral aromaticity. But it looks and sounds like a very, very nice beer. So without further ado then, let's get this guy out and we'll get on with the tasting then. As you can see, a nice smoky opening there. Oh, and there's some nice fruity notes coming out that actually as you open it up. Some nice kind of juicy red fruity esters there. But it was one thing I was thinking about just before I did this video. Normally you would think it would be really unusual to say that you have a black IPA from Germany, because it's just not a traditional style of German beer at all. But having watched Peter's channel over the last, I think, year and a half, something like that, it's really not as unusual as you would think. There's a lot of breweries over there in Germany just kind of brewing up these newer American styles as opposed, and sometimes in conjunction with these the traditional German beer styles. So it's a very exciting time over there, and of course Germany's a hugely traditional beer country, so it's really cool to see that expertise applied to some of these kind of new wave American beer styles. But yeah, as you can see, this beer's poured a really nice kind of dark ebony rosewood colour. There's a solid finger of a frothy beige tan head on this one. It looks really nice. One or two big bubbles sticking towards the side of the glass, and quite a few little ones just going up towards the bottom of that head there. I'm really getting some nice juicy fruit juice coming off this one as I move it around. There's a nice little bit of chocolate there, and also some kind of sweet brown sugars as well. But for this, you know, it just looks, and just from what I've smelled already, it looks like a really, really nice black IPA. So let's take a closer look at the aroma then and see how we get on. Oh, I tell you something, that smells absolutely lovely. When you sugar it up, you start to get a little bit more out of it as well. There's a lot of complexity to this one. And I have to admit, when it comes to black IPAs, when it's a regular one, I can kind of take it or leave it, I guess, but I think when you make it an Imperial beer, it just has a lot more depth to it. And when it comes to the black IPA, I would probably pick the Imperial over the kind of regular one, to be honest. Probably one of the best black IPAs I've had was the Black Salts and Body Malts from Toul in Denmark. That, I think, to this day remains the best black IPA I've had, but this one certainly reminds me a lot of that, actually. But this smells really nice. So there's a nice kind of dark, but also at the same time there's a good bit of dark and milky chocolate coming out of this one. You can smell there's a little bit of that roasted black malt backbone to it, and there's some, I think there's some brown sugars in there. There's an almost kind of dark, slightly darker treacle note coming out of this one. So it smells really, really nice, actually. Yeah, that's a really nice smelling beer. But you're getting some nice hoppy characteristics out of this one as well. I can smell there's a nice little bit of grapefruit coming out of this. I can get just a wee bit of an almost passion fruit or something, and there's a little bit of an almost candied red fruit ester, maybe some plums or raisins. It has that little bit of sharpness to it. So I want to say there is some kind of plum or raisiny note to this, but definitely you can pick up the piney raisins. That'll be the Chinook coming out. And you can get some of that spicy floral aromatic character. That'll be both the Hercules and also the Centennial. The Centennial gives you this really kind of distinctive sort of spicy floral aromatic character, but it's got quite a distinctive lemony note to it as well. and you can get just a little bit of that lemon sharpness behind these kind of grapefruity and red fruity esters that I was talking about. But it has a lovely aroma. When you sugar it up a little bit more, you start to get some of these kind of darker malty notes out of it. You can smell it almost has a little bit of a kind of bready quality to it as well. A nice dark brown bread, but the caramels there, the toasted caramels there, some nice dark chocolate and a bit of roasted black malt as well. But it's a lovely beer, this. You can just tell from the aroma that this is going to be a really good quality. So I don't want to kind of hang about too much more, but as I always say, just take a little bit of time and enjoy the aroma of the beer before you actually get stuck into it. But I'm pretty sure this is going to be a good one. So let's have a look at this then. So this is the Black Shark, an Imperial Black IPA at 8.5% from Camba Bavaria, one of the breweries who by all accounts really kind of kicked off the craft beer revolution over in Germany. So let's get stuck into this one then. Prost! Oh yeah, that is a pretty damn good beer. There's no doubt in my mind about that. That's a really good beer. I mean, that, from memory, that's up there with the black salts and body malts from Toil. And that's really nice. Like, I mean, often, probably my main complaint, I guess I would say, about the black IPA style is that often if you don't have it in the Imperial sort of strength, it can just feel like it has that little bit of depth. I mean, and it's maybe just a bit of a placebo effect. Personally, if I have a dark beer, I want it to have quite a bit of depth to the flavour. I mean, I don't just want roasted black malt and then hops. To me, I think that's a little bit boring. Because I homebrewed a black IPA once, and it had a nice little kind of black tint to it, but I thought it just needed a little bit of caramel sweetness and some chocolate just to back it up. You just need a little bit of that, and then you put all the hops on top of it. And that's why I think the Imperial black IPAs are just a little bit better. They've just got a little bit more of that booziness and caramel quality that gives it what you expect from a dark beer. And I think that goes really well with the nice juicy fruity hops that you're going to get from an IPA generally. But this is a very, very good quality beer. There's no doubt in my mind about that. I can see right away why it is so highly rated. This, if you get the chance to try this, have a go at it. It's really good. Yeah, you know, that's just a great beer. That's to give you the basic review now. It's just a really damn good beer. So try this if you get the chance. But as I always say with these dark beers, sugar them around your palate a little bit and just let your whole mouth adjust to them before you start analysing the flavour too much. But that's good. So yeah, with this one then, in the middle of your palate you can feel a little bit of that sort of slightly bready base to this one. You can feel there's a little bit of bread there. On top of that you start to get some of this roasted black malt, but it's not too punchy. And that's again what I was saying is that's the main reason I like the Imperial black IPAs rather than just the regular ones. It just has a little bit of that nice backbone. As you progress further into the flavour, these kind of roasted black elements start to push their way out a little bit more. There's some nice kind of dark toasted brown sugars in there, and right in the middle of the palate there's a nice kind of dark chocolate element to the beer as well. I mean, overall the malt base on this, it has the level of complexity that I would want from a black IPA, and that was, like I was saying, quite a few black IPAs that you'll come across, they just lack a little bit of that complexity that I think that makes it from being just, you know, a fairly decent beer to being a really, really good IPA, a really good black IPA. But that's really good. There's almost a little bit of a slightly licorice note to this, but really for me it's leaning a lot more towards the kind of roasted brown sugar. There is a little bit of that kind of brown sugar syrupy character to it, and as the flavour goes on you feel a little bit more of that roasted character just pushing its way out. The malt base on this is balanced just to a T. It's really, the malt base on this just is excellent. They've got a cracking base recipe for this beer, so it'd be really interesting to see them take this the base recipe for the malts and just play around with the hops and see what they could do. But they've got the hops right as well. I mean, this is just a good beer. From what I understand, there was a version of this that had Simcoe and something else in it. This one's only got the 3 hops. There was one that had 5 hops in it, and they've changed it recently, as far as I know, because there were only 3 hops listed on the website. But this is a cracking beer. But the base recipe, you can tell, as a home brewer, this would be one that I would want to play with and just change the hops and see what you could do with it, because they've got it just spot on. On the hoppy side of things, it really is very nice. In the back corners of the palate, there's a teeny tiny little bit of earthiness there, and that sort of builds a good bridge between the roasted black malts and the rest of the beer. As you come further forward, you can feel there's a good bit of spicy floral aromaticity to this one, and you can feel there's a wee bit of pine resin under there. As I was saying, the Chinook is the one that's going to give you the pine resins. The other two, the Hercules and the Centennial, they're going to give you a little bit more of a slightly spicy floral aromatic character. And I guess the main difference between that is that the pine resins are just a little bit darker in flavour, if that makes sense. You can just tell they just kind of almost blanket the tongue a little bit, but definitely around the very front curve of the palate there's a nice grassy note, and I would say that it's kind of a lemongrassy quality that comes off of this one, and it's really, really nice. Just behind the front curve of the palate, as I always say, that's where you get this little oily bubble where the nice juicy fruity esters come out of the beer. And there is a good bit of complexity to this one. It's just really nice. Yeah. So you can feel, just behind that front curve of the palate there, you'll feel there's a little bit of grapefruit just underpinning the beer. On top of that, I almost want to say there's a little bit of orange there, but to me there's a wee bit of that kind of lemony note as well. I think there is a wee bit of an orangey character, which is unusual considering the hops that they've used in this. Usually you'd associate Mosaic or Amarillo or something like that with this kind of orangey flavour. So it just is interesting to see how these hops can come out a little bit differently with a different malt base. But I want to say there's a little bit of an orangey flavour in there. Maybe there's a wee kind of passion fruity note as well. But as you progress further and further into the taste, it just becomes, there's a little bit, it just has a little bit of this kind of tropical fruit note that comes out, which is really quite interesting, and you can feel a little bit of that distinctive citrusy note that you'll get from the Centennial. Not quite lemony, but just, I always find with Centennial, as it progresses, you just get a little bit more kind of tropical complexity to it, rather than just that kind of simple lemon note that kind of dominates it, if that makes sense. But this is a really, really damn good beer. And the aftertaste, when you get to the other end, the far end of the aftertaste, you can feel a little bit of that roasted black malt just pushing its way out. Some of the spicy floral notes and a bit of the pine resin. That again builds a good, those two things together build a really good bridge. And then you've just got a little bit of an almost kind of candied red fruit or maybe even figgy ester coming out of this one. But the way to sum this up, it's a really beautiful beer, and it just goes to show it's really cool to see the kind of German brewing expertise, if you like, combined with these new wave American styles. I think we're going to see some really exciting things come out of Germany over the next few years, but Peter of course is the man to tell you about that. This is a damn good black IPA. It's really, really damn good. In terms of the mouthfeel of this one then, I would say it's mid-bodied. The carbonation's quite soft, and again I think that's just a trend you're going to notice with German beer. The Germans like their beers to be very, very smooth in my experience. It's got quite an oily mouthfeel, this one, I would say, and that really does suit it. There's a good mix of sweetness and bitterness from the malt base, which is what you want with the malt base. The malt base on this, I think, is just balanced to a T. I would love to know the recipe for that and just play around with it in a home brewing exercise. That would be really, really fun. The hops have a nice level of bitterness. Apparently it's 120 IBUs. If I blind tasted it, I'm not sure I would have guessed that. I think you can only detect up to 100 actually on the palate. But to me it doesn't blow my head, certainly, in terms of IBUs, but it does have a nice level of bitterness to it, and it is one of the more bitter beers that I've come across from Germany in recent times. But there's a good juicy fruity character to this one as well. But overall it's just a really damn good beer, and I think it's very encouraging that you can see a sort of typically American style brewed very, very well in Germany, and nobody questions Germany's brewing expertise, and I think it kind of goes to show that when they take an American style and do it this well, as I said, I think there's going to be some very exciting times ahead for Germany when it comes to these kind of American style craft beers. So we just need to wait and see, but it's been really cool to review my first beer from Camba Bavaria for you. I've been very, very impressed with this one, and I'd love to review some of their other ones, so hopefully I can get back out to Germany or to Munich and pick up some more for you. But to try an Imperial Black IPA that's as good as this from Germany is really quite an experience, and I definitely think this is up there with the Toil, Black Salts and Body Malts, which up until now is the best black IPA that I've reviewed for you here on the channel. So yeah, you know, you have to give a bit of applause to Camba Bavaria for that, but it's been really cool to review this one for you. So thank you once again for watching. As always, let me know your own thoughts on this beer in the comment section below. Do let me know what your favourite beers are from Camba Bavaria as well, and hopefully I can return to these guys in the future and review some more for you. But this is a damn good beer, so give it a try if you get the chance. So until the next time, please like, subscribe, share, all the usual YouTube stuff. Do check out my social media. Make sure you check out Peter's channel over at the Clueless Drinker as well. But most importantly, support your local craft breweries, and if you get the chance, make sure you try some of these Camba Bavaria beers. So this one was the Black Shark, an Imperial Black IPA, sorry, from Camba Bavaria down in Bavaria in Germany. It's landed just now, and I will catch you guys very soon. Prost.